Next up, I'm sorry, but I don't know all your names because you're 4 people, so. But here come the Codecoolers.
We will introduce ourselves.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And this is just amazing, so stage is yours.
So hey everyone, I'm not going to use the microphone either. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everywhere? Okay, thank you. So, my name is Ákos Putnoki and I'm a Codecoolers student, as all 4 of us are. And a little bit about my story and how I got into code school. After high school, I went to university to study finance and accounting. And after 3.5 happy years, I managed to finish that with a bachelor's degree and started to work in that area, but that didn't really work out the way I wanted it. And that's how I basically found code school. I started to look for new opportunities.
Hello everyone, my name is Attila Balla. I'm also a university student. I was studying engineering informatics, but after a while I figured out that heavy maths and physics are not really my thing. But I still wanted to be a programmer, so I found Codecool, and when I learned about them, I took the opportunity, and now here I am.
Hello everyone, my name is Tibor, Szűcs. My little story is that I used to learn IT in high school, but unlike my other 2 teammates, I did not go to university. And after half a year, I finally found Code.
Good evening everyone, my name is Richárd Szombat and I got into coding when I was about to graduate from high school and I had no idea what I would like to do, but I was always familiar with computers, mostly because of gaming, but yeah, I decided to give it a shot and learn programming at the university. So I've learned a bit of C++ there, but the education wasn't that practical for me and it didn't seem fun at all. And I just couldn't get past the for loops, so I left it. And when I heard about Codecool, I had a positive feeling about it. And if you were telling me half a year ago that today I'll be here on stage presenting my mates our Python skills, then I would probably laugh at you. But then again, it seems like I was right about Codecool. So we started about half a year ago, and this presentation is about our first 4-month journey with Python. And we are going to walk you through this. So, yeah, when everything started, I got accepted, and I was learning, I was reading a lot of articles about Python being the best language for beginners, saying it's easy to understand. And I was like, hey, it's programming, how could it be easy to understand? And so now that we are learning Java, I can prove that with a really basic example. You can see the Java code there printing out hello world. If Java was our first programming language, then I would be like, wait, what? I don't understand the thing from this. So let's take a look what happens if we Pythonize this code, and it gets simple, understandable, and well, you don't even need to be a programmer to know what's going on. And yeah, basically, because of this simplicity, we could have a lot of fun from the beginnings. And yeah, maybe the lack of this was the problem for me earlier. Another great thing about Python is that its readability is easy to maintain through the forced indentation, which not just teaches us how to deal with it, but teach us how to write cleaner codes later on. By the way, understanding, please raise your hands. How many of you have had that great aha moment when you were trying to figure out something for a long time and then you finally got it? Ah, okay, great, then you know what I'm talking about. I've had a bigger one when we, especially I, have passed the for loops and we got into collections and we learned how to manipulate lists, how to get an element or index them. Yeah, it was just going fine. We were working only with lists, and then we had an assignment called Game Inventory. It was basically a fantasy text game where we had to create a list of elements which were the loots and add them to the player's inventory, which was a dictionary. Now, dictionaries were a big no-no for me because I just couldn't understand these key-value pairs. But yeah, actually this demonstration is just not right because the real enemy here was the dictionary. But after fighting for days with it, it turned out that it was well worth it, and the reward was the moment of realization what's going on. It was just priceless for me. So we moved on with Python, met various libraries like Richárd for reading key presses, what we used in this game, or take time for manipulating take times. But the most interesting one came along while I was looking for ways to create a console game, and it was something different. It was Pygame, and for those who don't know, Pygame is a library for creating multimedia applications like games. And so when I first ran into it, I was so excited. I spent my whole weekend watching tutorials about how to create a snake game, and yeah, it was absolutely fun in the way we can say that on coding, debugging. And in my experience as a beginner, it was great to explore how I can build and run my own desktop application, which just wasn't that hard to understand. It was about our third or fourth week at Codecoolers when we were finishing the Python basics. But at this point we ran into further problems. Our projects were growing bigger and bigger, and yeah, we just couldn't handle it alone anymore. Ákos, do you remember how to solve this issue?
I wish I wouldn't, Richie, I wish I wouldn't. So, after Richie's journey, I'm going to talk about something that is not strictly Python related, but it played and it still plays a significant role both in our programming and personal development, which is teamwork. When people usually first hear about programming, they tend to give into the stereotype that it's about some loner genius sitting in a basement coding the world away. To be honest, this was the first thing that popped into my mind as well. But after I got more and more into programming, I realized that this isn't the case at all. Throughout my Python journey, I got repeatedly reminded that programming is indeed a team effort. In Codecoolers, for example, the whole curriculum is based on this concept, as we have to work in teams basically every second week. My personal experience regarding teamwork is that it's kind of like a hill. It can definitely be slow and painful in the beginning, but as the members get more comfortable with the team dynamics and team interactions, the level of productivity can rapidly increase and reach heights that would be unreachable alone, and after that it's pretty much a smooth ride. So this was kind of like a personal side when it comes to working in a team, and now I want to talk a little bit about the technical side. When it comes to the technical side, our biggest obstacle was definitely understanding and utilizing Git. I don't know how many of you heard about or used Git before. Okay, nice, definitely many of you. If you haven't heard of Git yet, it is a version control system that tracks changes in files, and it also coordinates work on these files amongst multiple people. That's what Wikipedia says anyways. But if I want to put it into like an easier way, it is just a major tool that can help you and your teammates work on the same project remotely. First, I'm going to mention a couple of difficulties that we had with Git, and the first thing that comes into my mind when it comes to Git difficulties are definitely merge conflicts. I'm pretty sure many of you had these. So we actually have to solve a merge conflicts if we want to get through this level. Merge conflicts generally occur when both you and your teammate work on the same part of the code, and when you both push your changes, it can't really decide which change should be applied. So at this case, you should definitely consult with your teammate and solve this conflict together and decide which change should be applied. So let's just say the first one is the correct one, and now that the conflict is solved, we can actually proceed to the next level. Here I want to talk a little about Git branches. If you don't really know what branches are, but I'm pretty sure many of you know because you raised your hand, they could be considered as building blocks of Git, and we met these through Git flow workflow, which is one of the workflows you could use with your teammates. The whole concept is based on the idea that if you want to implement separate features with your teammates, you should be able to do this in an isolated environment without having to interfere with the others' work. So therefore you can create branches. For example, here Ákos feature branch is my branch. And when I'm done with my feature, I can just merge it back into development, which is usually the main line of development. It's very basic. And after the development is ready for a release, we usually push it into master. So let's do that, so we can get up to the portal and reach the last level. Here I'm going to talk a little bit about commits. It's still not unusual that my branches only consist of one commit, and it basically says feature implemented, and it's done. Even if it was like a more complex feature. So committing often is definitely something yet to master for me. So just for good practice, let's commit the changes we've made throughout this game. These are the files that has been changed throughout this game, and first we should add these or stage these, and after they are ready, they could be committed, and we can reach the Git kingdom itself, where the true power of Git dwells. All in all, it was and still is a bumpy experience to work with Git on a daily basis, but it is undeniable, it is a really powerful tool, and our life would be way harder without it. By the way, this is not a Git commercial. So, working in teams and Git wasn't really the only obstacle we had to get through, wasn't it, Tibi?
Well, it certainly wasn't. When we started working with Python, we had tons of issues with it. But by far the biggest for me was clean code. So let's take a quick look at my first game, which was a Sudoku game. This is just a... it doesn't really look less than BI. So I did not write clean code because it wasn't necessary, and I didn't even know what it was. So it was all web code. Who knows what the patent back code is? Just raise your hands.
Could you repeat that?
What is dry and wet code?
Oh.
Raise your hand. Alright. So, wet code is basically means write everything twice. We enjoy typing, there are lots of variations to that. And dry stands for don't repeat yourself. So if you are copying and pasting the same block of code to multiple places, then you are writing wet code, and you should make it into a function. So, I did not even write this code clean because I didn't know what it was, as I said, but let's quickly fix that. So my variable names were only A, B, and C. So this wasn't really good. But this wasn't my only issue. I used while loops instead of for, and I had a variable which gets incremented by 1, and if that reaches a certain number, it breaks the loop, etc. So let's clean it up as well. But Pepe was also screaming at me, and who knows what Pepe is? I would be surprised if you wouldn't know what it is. So, in short, Pepe is a style guide for Python on how to write clean and easy to read code. So that thing was screaming at me as well, because as you can see right there are some tildes, because I pressed 2 spaces, there was immediately a little green underline that I didn't know. I was scratching my head for like 5 seconds before I realized that, oh, shall I put 2 spaces, so let's remove them. We don't need them either. And for the last thing, it was screaming at me because my lines were too long. They were always above a certain limit, and it didn't like that as well, so let's quickly change that to this. All in all, this fight was so much longer for me in real time, but it was worth it because now I'm earning max point for the clean code criteria. But eventually, we'll have to read the terminal.
Yeah. So after the terminal, or last but not least, our challenge was web development. So let's move that. So we started learning HTML and CSS in order to get out of the plain and sometimes boring black and white screen of the terminal. So I was wondering, what should I do to present my part since the terminal is no longer an option, right? So here's this website. This was actually one of our projects. I often come here to ask questions, and my teammates can answer them and seek help. So I checked, how should I present my part? And here my teammates are saying that I should do acrobatic moves. Well, I can't do any of them, unfortunately. And should I sing it in a song? No, I don't think any of us will find it a good idea. So I think I'm just going to stick to this website instead. So before we had the terminal, of course, our programs were pretty simple, and they mostly consisted of us just starting a terminal and getting the output of whatever algorithm or problem we were given. Sometimes we had a menu, of course, that allowed us to select a few options and select what actually we wanted to see, but this was as far as it went. Right now we have a website, we have much more features, elements, links, buttons, all kinds of things that the user can mess around with. So how can we really touch these and modify these and work with these in our code? We didn't know at the time, so I go back here and I put up a question about this as well. So what happens when we, for example, type in a URL into the browser? Well, this is a really cool topic, and we could be sitting here for days, or well, certainly for this evening talking about it because it's complex. But for simplicity's sake, and because we had to get the fundamentals down, the most important part was HTTP requests. So basically we have these requests. The most common ones that we used were get and post at the first, obviously. So we had to understand just what are these. Sometimes we were using one where the other one would have been more appropriate. So of course I go back to Estimate and ask the question, what's the difference between get and post requests? So let's see. So my teammate says complete nonsense. He says that it's a post office and letters, just what? It's completely out of the context, right? But in reality, GET requests are requests that are simple and they are used to retrieve data for simple processing, and they have no side effects. While post is mostly used when we are dealing with forms and we are dealing with more sensitive data that we don't really want the user to easily manipulate it. Alright, so we got the basics down, so we still had needed a tool to work with these on server side. So this is where Python, one of Python's web frameworks, Flask, comes into play. Anyone heard about Flask? Anyone used it before? Raise your hands. Yeah, cool, I see a lot of you. So Flask is basically a micro web framework for Python. It's ideal for us because it's easy, lightweight, it doesn't depend on many things, and it generally has a good documentation. But there was another tricky thing that came with these web frameworks, and it's usually not an easy thing to understand, especially since we were novice programmers. We started noticing that there are a lot of these @ signs in our code, like in email addresses. So I went ahead and asked this question, what are these @ symbols in Flask apps? So these are actually decorators. So decorators are another really useful features that Python has, and these are basically functions that take in other functions as parameters. They do stuff with them, they sort of decorate them, and then they return them, and these allow us to write simpler code and allows for greater cleanness and maintainability. For me personally, the biggest challenge in this module was adapting to our second programming language, which was JavaScript. We started learning JavaScript, and so far we are only working with code that runs in order, but now we have to think about stuff like event listeners and DOM manipulation, and initially this was pretty difficult for us, but eventually we got through it. So this pretty much concludes it for me. We are, like the guy said, halfway around our course, and we are currently deep down in object-oriented programming.
So as Ati said, this basically sums up our 4-month journey in Python. Currently we are halfway through Codecoolers, and we definitely have a lot of adventures ahead. But one of the biggest ones is definitely the job interviews at the end. And even if everything goes downhill, we can still make our own startup and create presentations in the terminal, because who needs Prezi when we have the terminal, right? Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. So I assume no questions.
So which was the most difficult one to learn for you? In general.
Programming language?
Yeah, I mean in Codecoolers, what was the most difficult part for you? As someone who is not from the fields or programming field and stuff.
Well, for me, it was Python because it was my first language.
So the language itself? I mean just, teamwork or version control or I don't know.
I can say. Yeah, that was the first one, but I think I can say that in the name of the team that our biggest obstacle was Git.
Yeah. So So they used to say that it is MacGyver. You can do anything with it, and you can fuck everything.
Well, that is nothing teams.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
Well, it was created by programmers, not by designers.
Yeah.
And also for me, teamwork definitely, because as a university student, we were used to the fact that we had to work alone, and I actually had instances where we got told that, yeah, just don't look at your mates' computers, try to do it alone. And this was something that drastically changed with Codecool, because like the guy said, here we work in teams, and teamwork forms a big part of our course, and yeah, definitely, for me at least, took some adaptation.
Right, so yesterday I read a blog post about that people, even from the humanities, are moving towards schools like Codecool. So the first question is, who would you recommend Codecool to? And the second one is it mandatory to speak such good English as you do, or would you recommend it to someone who doesn't know English at all?
Yeah, I mean, generally Codecool is, the language in Codecool we speak is Hungarian, so you don't have to be like a really good English speaker. However, it plays like a role in the interview phases in the beginning, so you have to speak a little bit of English, but you don't have to be like professional or anything. And generally, who would I recommend Codecool to? I mean, my mom. So, to be honest, like nowadays, a lot of people are going to university just for the sake of it, and they don't usually know like what they want to study. And after they get out of university, they usually feel trapped in their jobs, and they are like, okay, so I'm basically just effed. And I think Codecool really provides a great opportunity for you if you want to turn your life around. And because to be honest, when I was in finance, I didn't really feel good. But to go to the university and study 5 years there, it wasn't really an option for me. So this whole Codecool structure was just spot on what I actually wanted, and I'm really satisfied with it so far.
Great job. I have a question about that.
Yeah.
So, can you show us the code?
That was the only question I was afraid of. No, the answer is no.
Okay.
We better want to keep the quality of this presentation.
Okay. Well, then I'm just gonna ask a few more questions. What kind of frameworks or libraries did you use to program this, and how long the code base is, and how much time did it take for you to complete it? Like, yeah, tell us more about the process of making it.
Yeah, sure. I think we started about two weeks ago, or three, preparing. 2 weeks for the preparation. But the game development took like maximum 1.5 weeks for us, and we mainly used libraries like Schematics, Richárd, what I mentioned, time for delaying the animation, and yeah, but not much else, or but frameworks, none of them.
And how long is the code? How many lines?
A lot. But we did not learn Python in an object-oriented way, but first we wanted to make it like that, and we started like that, but it wasn't that fun as we thought, so we just kept it simple. That's why we better watch this.
So we're not gonna get how much lines there is?
We don't even know, to be honest, I think.
So thousands.
About yeah.
Definitely no, it's like 200-300.
What?
200-300.
Yeah.
Well, mine is at least 150.
Okay. That's excluding Richie's part.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you so
great talk, amazing visuals, it was really so much fun. So now the pizza arrived, I guess you all saw it, so we can now have a break, like half an hour, I think. Yeah, let's have a half an hour break, and then we can grab some more beers, eat some pizza, hang out, talk to each other.